Hey folks, Chad Duplantis with Dentist in the Know, and I have a really good friend of the industry with me today. We're here in Chicago. I'm with Dr. Paul Feuerstein, and Paul is the editor-in-chief of Dentistry Today magazine. I don't even know if I need to introduce him because everybody knows this face. How could you forget this face?
This is a great face, isn't it?
I thought he was Jerry Garcia when I first met him, you know? But Paul, so glad to have you here. Thank you for being here. I know that we started this off a little bit differently than we have in the past, but non-dentally, I'd like to hear the story about your last name.
Anybody who grew up in Germany watched a show called The Flintstones, it's called Die Family Feuerstein.
Really?
Fred Feuerstein, Wilma Feuerstein, Barney Rubel. So the way I found this out is I go to a show every couple of years in Germany called the IDS show.
Okay.
And I have my badge on, and these guys would come up to me and go, and I'm going, does my fly open? I mean, you know. And finally, after a whole year of that, I went the next year. I said, what's going on? And he goes, oh. I said, what's the funny joke? It's Feuerstein, you know, Fred Feuerstein.
And you had no idea?
I have no idea. So now what I do is I wear this funky tie right now in the U.S., but in Germany, I have one with Fred Flintstone all over the tie. I have a Fred Flintstone pin.
Is it the same same cartoon?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just overdubbed. It's actually, they overdub it, so it's funny to see, to watch the cartoons.
And it's the Feuersteins.
The Feuerstein. The family, so the movie, this family Feuerstein, and so my kids have stuff, as they were growing up, they had they had comic books and stuff.
That is amazing. That's pretty crazy. Well, now, how long have you been in dentistry and where?
I'm going to say this with a swallow. This is my 51st year of general practice.
It's pretty awesome.
And my patients go, so when are you going to stop doing this? And I said, you know what? When I lose my enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Now, I've gone through permutations. I'm a practice owner. I sold the practice. I'm now an associate in a big practice. And it works out fine because I'm not the administrator. So I had the luxury, all of a sudden, I go to work, I see my patients, and if I want to spend 2 hours on 20-0, I can do whatever the heck I want. Because I'm taking care of patients that I've been seeing for the 50 plus years. I'm in third generation, I think fourth in a couple of families, and they keep coming. And here's a fun story. I have a young boy named Michael. He's not a boy, he's 30 years old. And he was in the office, and I said, hey, Michael, I should say I'm in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
I live in a city called Lowell, Massachusetts, which is a story on its own. And the office is in Billerica, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Lowell has some famous things. We won an Academy Award with The Fighter. It's called The Fighter.
Okay.
It was all filmed. It was Mickey Ward, who was filmed in Lowell. So,
okay.
Anyway, so Michael is a young kid, 30 years old. He's got a real good job. He's working in Boston, which is far from me, and he moved to a town called Salem. So I came to him with his recall. I said, Michael, I just want to let you know that when I leave, I stop practicing, I have a very good friend in Salem, Mass. Actually, her name is Pam Muniz.
Oh, who's that? Yeah.
And he started crying. He's burst out in tears. He goes, well, you're not going to be my dentist? I go, I didn't want to say I'm like 900 years old. and it's the passion that my patients have for me, because I have a certain practice style. It's very informal. High quality, simple dentistry. I'm not a crazy man. I'm not doing all sorts of wild stuff. I do very, very good basic dentistry. The stuff's still in there from 1973, and I'm a little nervous. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little nervous right now about walking out of that door because I have patients that have amalgams that are 40 years old.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not fine, but they're fine. They're functional. And they know that the next day, oh my God,
you got to change this, take it out. Yeah.
So I'm hanging on.
So I think one of the turns that we're going to take here, because I think this is something very powerful. You and I were in Shofu meetings a couple of days ago, which is one of the companies that we're both fond of. At least I think so, since we were both there. But love Shofu, great company. And we walked around that room with a lot of great dentists. There were two dentists in there that were by far younger than the rest of the crowd. I happen to be one of them, and I'm almost 50. Jennifer Bell is the other, and she's just a few years behind me. But to me, I was looking around that room, and I was like, wow, these people are legends. Dentistry is going to change in a few years. But I'm going to ask you, What do you find is the secret to your happiness and your success in dentistry? Is it the relationships? Is it dentistry itself? What is it?
It's a lot of things. I'll take them backwards. Relationships, you are a relationship to me.
Absolutely.
You're a part of my family. Jeff is part of my family. Jennifer's part of my family. So I see this as an extended family. So when I come to a show, I'm going to see my pals. Joyce Bassett just almost tackled me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're just going to have to stop doing that in a couple of years, right? Yeah.
So part of it is just, it's a social thing.
Sure.
The other part of it, though, is that I've always been in the front end of any new technology.
Absolutely.
You probably don't even know I helped develop one of these intraoral scanners in the marketplace. In Boston, we had a group with myself and some engineers from MIT. We actually invented
Duplantis?
We invented the scanner. And then, I can't say we, they sold it to 3M for $100 million.
Yeah.
So my legacy was going on until 3M dropped the product with the true definition. So, but I get to see things happening, and I'm also being called in by companies for my opinions on things. So, we have this new printer. We might be able to print direct aligners. What do you think? I said, whoa, let's do it. You know, and I love to see the changes that's going on. I mean, when I had my computer slow. I had a computer in my office in 1978. Bill Gates wasn't even born. There was no Microsoft, there was no PC. This was a mainframe computer in my office because I was nuts. My undergraduate training was in biochemistry, physics, math, computer science. I know what punch cards are.
Yeah.
I worked on punch cards. So I worked in programming languages. So my entree into dentistry was the technology side of it, even at that point. So I said, I need a computer. That's one of the cool things. The thing was about the size of a small refrigerator.
Yeah.
And discs were this big. This is called hard discs. They were this big. And it was made in somewhere in Utah. It was made, and it cost about $20-something thousand. And all my friends are buying cars, and I'm buying this dumb computer. I had to have it.
Well, you know, I love hearing you say this because you said 51 years. You had a computer before I think we even had a computer in the household, maybe.
Sure.
Yes, I was alive back then when you did have the computer. But what would you say? I have a couple of different opinions on this, but one of the things that I hate to hear is when we talk about technology, because that's kind of my level of expertise as well. When we talk about technology, it pains me to hear somebody say, I'm too old for that. I don't want that in my office. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, two things. Number one, if you think you're going to sell your practice and you aren't digital and at least a base, I mean, there are still people, I hate to say that, there's still people without digital x-ray. I mean, and it devalues the practice by $50,000+ on if they think they're going to be selling the practice. The patients are seeing this all over the place, and they say, my friend went to a dentist and had this little camera and they could see the teeth in 3D. And I said, wow, I never heard of that. My doctor doesn't have that. So I don't think it's a good, I mean, if I'm a year away from retirement, do I want to spend money and get the latest Omnicam with a 3-shape scanner or something like that? It's a hard thing, but don't say I'm too old for it. Say, I don't want to invest in it right now because I'm on my way out the door. And then again, as young dentists coming out of dental school, if they see charts and they see strictly only impressions, they don't see a scanner in the office, they have 2D x-ray, they don't even have 3. I mean, everybody doesn't have to have a cone, but it'd be nice to be there. That's what they want to see, because that's how they're learning the dentistry. So when they're coming out of school, if their practice isn't set up right, they can't even practice dentistry. I mean, they'll be a handpiece. Probably not even electric at that point.
I think what you've said is so powerful. But just this past week, and you should appreciate this too. Just this past week, I had a dentist call me that's local in our community, and he says, "Hey, I'm looking into a scanner. This guy's been doing this a long time." He goes, "I'm looking into a scanner," and he says, "I want some input. I want to ask you about this one, and this one. What would you do?" And I'm thinking to myself, okay, and I didn't ask why he was asking me, but his comment and his answer that he gave unsolicited, he said, "I'm about to retire, but I want to do this as a gesture of good faith to the person that's going to buy my practice. I want to show the advancement. I want my team to learn it. And I thought, that's probably one of the best attitudes that I've ever seen of. So there's a number of ways to look at. I see both sides. I see, hey, I'm on the way out. You know, I'm not going to buy something new, but I love this guy's answer, and to me that spoke volumes of his practice.
And the only thing that practice is going to be worth is the patient list.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
So, and there are people here who sell practice, buy and sell practices, and they'd say the same thing. So, is this $50,000 investment going to be making it back? You'll get it back.
Yeah.
You'll get it back. You may not be profitable on that, but I mean, you need to at least show faith. I think that's a true story.
So, let's talk about. I want to talk about one avenue of technology, or artificial intelligence. What are your thoughts on that in dentistry?
So I've been studying this pretty carefully since the things like Pearl and Overjet appeared on this track. So I was actually part of a group that helped develop some of that. There were about 4 or 5 of us, and we had to read. I think between us we read 30,000 bite wings.
Oh my gosh!
And each of us read the bite wing and found all the interproximal decay and found open margins and fed it to this gigantic computer. It was actually in India. And it actually was kind of cool. So they developed a piece of software. It's not in the market anymore. There was a corporate problem with the whole thing.
Sure.
But all of a sudden you see this X-ray and says, bing, this is interproximal decay. Now, the key here is, and this is what I'm scared to death about, is that the sophistication of the software now is way bigger than what we really need to know. Because when you're looking at an X-ray in your office, you're looking at a computer screen. You went to Walmart, you bought the screen for $250. The resolution is okay. You didn't pay $5,000 for that screen. So what the computers, what the AI does, it reads the file. So you can have on your screen, let's say, call it 50 shades of gray.
Yeah.
The computer's reading 1,000 shades of gray. So it's seeing really, really crazy insipid stuff. And for a young dentist who just came out of school, who owes $400,000 plus, they're going to look at this and say, wow, Mr. Jones, the computer says you have 16 cavities, and it's not. I call it Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
It's telling me in my practice, I'm in the middle of something. I'm doing a crown prep. Hygienist says, Dr. Paul, come on. All right, you're running.
Yeah.
You're running. If I came into that room, and there's a big layout saying check 14D, check 13M, check 12B, whatever it is, it gives me a heads up.
Yeah.
So it's actually a time saver. And it's just telling me to look at these things. So it's giving me, instead of me having to scan the whole thing, it's doing that pre-scan for me.
Yep.
So I think in the radiology area, I think it's good, but it has to be looked at as an adjunct, as a helper, and not all diagnosis. We're seeing AI now in scanning. Now the scanners know if your finger's in there,
yeah.
It knows if the cheek is in there, and things like that. We see an ortho now, unbelievable. All these aligner therapies now are being looked at with AI, and you can track it with AI. So there's a company in France called Remote, I think it's Dental Monitoring it's called, and they have a package. So your patient has their aligners, and they give them an iPhone or a regular or an Android phone. You take 6 pictures, 6 photos. It goes up to that cloud, and it changes them into 3D. And the 3D says, okay, tooth number 22 did not move this way, it moved this way, so you have to get a refinement. Well, the aligner's not sitting properly. What's the beauty of that? Number 1, the diagnostic information. Number 2, the patient doesn't have to come to your office for that check.
Yep.
So that's very, very big. And then we have Patient Prism down out of Florida that listens to your phone calls. And it's really creepy, but it's great. And if something, let's be a little bit blunt here. If a patient called up and wanted a certain procedure, and they didn't make the appointment, the AI says, here's what you said wrong. You should change the verbiage. And they've proven that if you use this particular program, you actually increase your case acceptance and your revenue. So there's things like that. Let me give you a little aside too. So with the AI on the radiographs, we're starting to see really, really early incipient decay. There's a product out of Switzerland. It's a gel. It's called Curodont. And this gel, when you see something that it's only in enamel, it's like magic. You put this gel around just over the occlusal, and it sort of drips interproximally, and it remineralizes the interproximal lesion.
All right, so there's a lot on the forefront, but I want to dissect it. There's one thing that I want to dissect out of it that you said. One, one thing that I want to dissect out is you and I have the same fears of artificial intelligence. And I think our biggest fear, correct me if I'm wrong, is abuse of the image. I've always worried about that. But I loved what you said because you and I are on the exact same page. AI is a great tool to help point us in the right direction. But the key word in there is help. It's not absolute. We're wrong. AI is wrong from time to time.
That's fine.
That's what's going to happen. But the other thing that I love, the third thing I want to dissect out, and I'm going to verbalize it the way that I usually do, is that AI doesn't necessarily mean fill here.
Correct.
Prevent or fill, that's what we need to decide. Do we focus on prevention, or do we have to focus upon restoration?
And I think there's a whole big world of minimally invasive restorations.
Absolutely.
And then you have MI-PACE and you have ICON and things like that. You know, so there's a lot of other avenues there.
And I love the avenues that you discussed. So,
well, there's also, don't forget, in publishing, I'm getting some things. I'm getting people sending me articles that weren't written by the person. They go to ChatGPT or something like that. And now it's so sophisticated. That if you're a kid in school and the teachers are having a spaz, you can say, write a book report on Robinson Crusoe in the words of a 10-year-old. And it does it that way too. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition to dentistry. I don't know. I mean, there's applications obviously where, yes, I do agree that it's somewhat scary, but I think it's a great addition to dentistry. Great segue there when you talk about publishing. Let's close talking about dentistry today. Tell us what you're seeing with the publication and how maybe someone who writes might be able to get something published in there.
The end of the story is anybody out there who can take good photographs and document a case, as long as I have the pre-op, what happened, what did you plan to do, what did you do, if it worked, how did it come out, if it didn't work, how did it come out, that's an article. But what I've done since I took over, I'm being a little mean here, but all of the trade magazines, and I've spoken to Pam and to John and everybody else, have been very, very, it's the elders of running the magazines. And dentistry is not that anymore. And dental school is over 50% female, and it's very diverse. And so this past year, the 2023, the covers of my magazine changed dramatically. I had a lot of women, a lot of diverse cultural people, Asian, Black, Iranian, Egyptian, trans. I've had all these different types of people on the cover of the magazine or in the magazine because that's what dentistry looks like. And my fear is it's a print magazine and print is going out the window. And the young dentists who are coming out of school who are actually being attracted by what I'm doing now are actually going to read the magazine now. And it's also easy to read the magazine. So if you have a case with 10 pictures, on your phone you got to scroll through the 10 pictures. You have it all outlaid this way. So print it's not dead. It's in trouble. It's really in trouble.
Yeah.
But and then I'm a troll. I troll Facebook and Instagram, and I find young dentists who are they post. Everybody posts something. A quick story. I'm not going to mention a specific name. I found a young dentist in New Jersey. He posted a simple case. He was using a 3-shape scanner, and he did a crown, and he did some design work with ExoCAD. It was very cool. So I get a hold. I instant message the guy. I said, "How would you like to put that as an article?" He goes, "Are you Dr. Paul?" I go, "Listen, forget that. You wrote this great case. Can you put that into an article?" He said, "I don't know how to write." I said, "Just pretend you're standing in front of a room." So the patient came in. They broke the tooth. I did this. So he wrote the thing, and it was a great, simple, great article. And the publisher looks at it and goes, "Who the heck is this guy?" I said, "I don't know." So the article goes in. A couple of months later, he gets a phone call from 3Shape. "Hey, we saw your article. How'd you like to present it at one of our forums?" That was everything. And now he's actually teaching for 3Shape.
That's job well done.
So that's my goal. And I'm looking for young talent, young people. We just spoke with Ashley, for example, Ashley Clark. I love what she's doing. I'm bringing her in, new stars. I'm trying to create new stars. Nothing wrong with. I have Bill Strupp on the magazine. I have all the icons also. I have Gordon in the magazine. But there's a lot of room for anybody who doesn't. You don't have to be a star to get into my magazine. We will make you the star.
That's what it's all about. So, Paul, I've enjoyed learning so much about you. I've enjoyed learning about the the Feuersteins and Steins and the Flintstones, that connection. I've enjoyed learning about your take on technology, and I certainly love what you're doing for dentistry today. So thanks for the time.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks a lot.